There we go. Okay, welcome everybody. It feels like a long time since we were last together. I don't know if that's true or not, but it just feels like forever. Um, we're going to spend the bulk of our time today talking about our new-ish assessments. Some of us have been using these for a while. Some of us have just been using them since July, but we want to hear about your experiences with the Best Plus 3.0, the Best Literacy 2.0, and the TABE 1314. So we're going to spend a lot of time in discussion groups today. So here are the objectives of the day. We want to hear the good and the bad and the ugly, okay? All of the things that you feel have been successful, everything that's really bugging you and frustrating you, any questions you have about these new assessments. We want to do this for a few reasons. We want to provide support if you need it. The professional development team is always looking for ways that we can support our teachers in their classrooms and our programs and their leaders. So if we can do anything with professional development to help support the use of these new assessments, we want to know that so that we can provide you some assistance. And the other thing is we want to have a list of unanswered questions that then John Anderson can take back to our test vendors who, after all, we pay, so that he can help us get some answers to those outstanding questions and perhaps ease some of the frustrations you might be feeling. So those are our main objectives today. It's going to be very much participant driven. So we want to start out today with a couple of polls. I'm going to launch this. This one is a few questions, and I apologize for that, but they're not going to be too hard. So hopefully you can see the poll. There are multiple questions. Practicing my wait time. If you need a little more time, would you give me a raised hand just to
We
help me
did,
know where we're at?
we did have a couple people just join us, Becky.
Yep, yep, I saw that.
We've asked people today if you have um, don't have your name on your Zoom account, if you would change your name to your name so that we know who you are. I might know who you are, but other people don't.
You're all so quiet. Can you hear my clock ticking?
No, I hear the HVAC system in this building.
I
Kim,
do hear ticking in the morning meetings, and I was wondering whose clock it was.
mine. Kim hates my clock.
One of
I
these
don't
days-
like clocks.
One of these days he's gonna come in and it'll be smashed all over floor because when I'm standing there, I just want to jump on it, smash it.
Not mine. Belongs to Cornerstones. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll unless somebody gives me a wave and tells me that they're still working. Okay. And I'm going to share the results because I think that it will be fun for you all to see. So we've got some people who have done Best Plus 3.0, some who've done TABE 13, 14, and Best 3.0 only, and a few who've done all of the above tests. So we've got some people who don't feel comfortable at all with the TABE and some who feel okay. It seems like most people are feeling pretty okay about the Best Plus 3.0. Best Literacy, a little bit of a mix there, and not many people testing remote for TABE, a few more testing remote for Best. So interesting results there, guys. Thank you for that. It's always nice to have some data when we start these kinds of conversations. So I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions. And now we want to put you into some discussion groups. And we know this is going to be a little bit like herding cats, but I'm going to let you choose your own discussion groups. We've got a slide here with discussion topics for the best tests, both 3.0 and Literacy 2.0. You can see them on the screen. I'm not going to read them to you. Your room facilitators are also going to have copies of those questions, so you'll be able to access them. And then let me flip and I'll show you, we've got very similar questions for TABE 13, 14. We're going to spend a good amount of time in our discussion rooms talking about these questions or anything else that you want to bring to the table. I don't want you to feel like you have to go down the line and answer these 4 questions. If your conversation takes you somewhere, by all means go there. Like I said, this is going to be very participant driven. So we're going to give you plenty of time to discuss. I'm thinking about 20 minutes. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to ask the room facilitators to give me just 1 or 2 things that you think are outstanding points to share in the room or in the whole group that happened in your room. And we'll have a little bit of time for kind of more general discussion. And then we want to give John a bit of time also after discussion to address some things regarding assessment. I am just scanning down this list and I'm feeling like we probably need at least 2 rooms to discuss best, but I'm thinking we can get away with 1 room for GED. Is anybody going to object to that or to talk about TABE? Okay, so I'm gonna knock out 1 of my rooms. So I'm going to open these rooms. I have them labeled by assessment type. And then I've got a facilitator name. So anybody can go anywhere other than facilitators. Please go to the room with your name on it. So you may choose. If those 2 best rooms end up a little unbalanced, I might come in and direct some people over to the other side. But you can also do that yourselves. If you end up in a room where there's 4 people, and a room where there's 15 people, move over to the other room. So, all right, are we ready? Okay, here we go. I was thinking 20 minutes was maybe too long, but it went really fast. Okay. So I've got the screen for the best discussion up. So I'm going to call on those 2 rooms first. I was in one of those rooms and I heard a lot of really great information being shared. So Debbie, Jennifer, who wants to kick off?
It looks like Jen was talking, but she's on mute, so I guess I'll go. Our group, I had a group full of professionals. They have all done a lot of Best Plus 3.0 and all seem, everybody's feeling pretty comfortable about it. We did all agree that everyone is scoring about one level lower-ish, give or take. And so that might not feel good at first, but we actually think it might be a good thing. It kind of correlates with the Burlington levels a little better. And one other plus to that is that we're having to give less lit or TABE tests because less students are besting out. So at LSS, they have done way fewer lit 2.0s than they had in the past. And they feel that the 2.0 has a lot more to it than the previous version. So hopefully it will be a little better assessment. I don't we did talk about how the students who make it to the summarizing section, most of them are unable to summarize or understand what that means. And Laura mentioned that there will be a T3 on teaching summarizing at all levels. So we're excited about that. I don't know. I think that was probably the best parts of our discussion.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks, Debbie.
that's a great debrief. Nicely done.
Jennifer.
All right. Yes, I am unmuted now. Okay. We talked about the challenges kind of with our 3.0. It does, when we first started, it seems like it does run a little slower. Sharing audio was brought up on some issues on if we need to maximize your screen or keep it minimized. Different techniques on sharing just the audio and not sharing screen. We also talked about challenges of maybe 40 hours. It won't be enough time to get a gain and with some students. And the NSR levels are lower on the 3.0 than the 2.0. Which helps them get more of a gain in the best rather than having to do the tape. And then we talked about kind of instructions that we use in class to help the students prepare for this test with summarizing, listening skills, things that we can do to help them prepare to get past those questions that are in the best. And repeating. We talked about repetition, repeating what you're hearing. So we had a lot of the same that you did, Debbie. Challenges, but yet hopeful outlook on how this will work for us.
Can I just say, I love the focus on the challenges in administering the assessment and the challenge of instructing, the skills that students are going to need to evidence in the assessment. I was amazed that I did not hear, and maybe I just missed it at the beginning, frustration expressed over the absurd way you have to type in a student's name on this assessment. And the fact that they are alphabetized by first frickin' name in their list. Who does that? Best Plus.
Becky, have you given a new one since the update? You can have spaces now.
Oh,
The
can you?
update allows spaces. It's
Oh,
very
so they've
exciting.
heard that.
Yes, they heard our complaints. I believe at least 3 people from Cornerstone separately sent complaints about that. Anyway, you can now use spaces between names. So you can put 2 names for a first name, 2 names for a last name. The only problem is you're still limited in your number of characters.
I was going to
But
say you're still going to run out of characters for
you
some
might
of
run out of
the
characters for some, but spaces are allowed. So if you didn't try it, if you just thought you couldn't use them, next time try it. I was able to add spaces.
good update. Thank you. I have not given one since we did the update. So thank you for that, Debbie. All right.
Yeah, I did a few this week and I didn't try. But now.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer and Debbie, for those great debriefs. We're going to hop over and Jeremy and Nikita got lumped into one room, so I don't know if they're going to duke it out to see who gets to give the debrief on the tape 1314 or if they're going to collaborate.
Nikita, what do you think? Do you want to talk or should I?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so we started out talking about how the levels that we're seeing produced by the 1314 are a little bit different than with the 1112, which was somewhat expected. But I know at one time, we had a concern that a lot of people taking the math locator were being put into level E. But then there's a wide range of NRS levels in there, so it's not like we have people testing out of range. So that takes a little bit of getting used to, and it is something that is always in the back of my mind when I'm looking at those results. Another thing that we talked about, John had asked us, do we use grade equivalent? The grade equivalent sheet to talk about scores. And we talked about how we don't with students because that can feel demoralizing sometimes to tell someone, like, for example, you're at a fifth grade reading level, you know, isn't going to go over very well with the student. But that information can still be useful for us, like for example, for selecting class materials at an appropriate reading level, or Kim had mentioned for talking to community members about what we do. They're going to understand grade equivalent. They're not going to understand NRS levels. Um, and then we also talked about what we do to prepare students for the TABE and what kind of conversations that we have for them, like how we explain what it is. Um, and emphasizing that this is just to measure their skills. It's just to give us information on what their skills are right now. We don't want them to study for it. But it is, it's a hard exam, and so we still want to mentally prepare them, I guess, for the exam. Uh, and let them know in a way that they can understand that this is useful for us. And then Kim also mentioned that we can reassure them that we use these scores to determine what they need to learn so that we're not wasting their time teaching them things that they already know.
All right, great. Oh, did he miss anything, Nikita?
I think that covers it.
Okay, good.
We
Good.
we kind of branched off, Becky, and ended up in our own discussions. So
That's fine. Oh yeah, I didn't expect you to just go down the list of questions and answer them one by one. Yeah, good summarizing skills, Amy says. Well done, everybody. Um, yeah, I hoped that you would branch off and get into your own kind of areas of interest because that's really what we wanted to facilitate during this session. Was just good discussion among peers. So it sounds like we accomplished that in all of your groups. John, did you have a few comments for the group?
Well, I wanted to just clarify, it's from the Best Plus groups. They both suggested that they too see their students coming in an SPL. Are we still using SPL, student performance levels, or we're talking about coming in one NRS level lower, right?
Yeah.
And similarly with TABE, I wondered too, Becky, given STAR and evidence-based reading instruction, that was one resultant disconnect with the 1112 series, how it was aligned not to GED, but college and career readiness standards, and thereby skewing what we would normally consider intermediate levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I only say that maybe to circle back to how we talk about EFL descriptors, um, workplace literacy skills. how we debrief, demonstrate and celebrate progress and completion. And right, I think we started out there, there was talk about a GED ceremony, but even for that skill gain. So I'd be interested in entertaining some of that conversation too. One thing we talked about in the GED or in the TABE group was, to Jeremy's point, how we mitigate some of that test anxiety. And I don't know that we really mentioned if we ever talk about teacher accountability, and if any of you in any assessment talk about the importance of us as teachers and educators and administrators.
Uh-oh. We lost him.
I think we lost him. While John's getting back on, maybe Amy made the comment about higher level students are often 2 NRS levels lower on the 3.0. I'm curious, are we at a point yet where we're seeing, is there the possibility that can go up a level a little quicker now because they are testing lower? Have you guys had any chance to see that? I'm just curious. I know we're kind of early in the year.
The ones that are scoring 2 levels lower in my testing experience, I'm not going to speak for everyone, it was like the ones that were level 6 or 5 last year. And I really think it's because they can't summarize at all. So I feel like they understand all the questions, they're answering all the questions, but then they couldn't summarize or give enough detail. And so I think those students might jump back up quickly if we start teaching summarizing more, or they're getting used to that type of test more. That's just the ones I saw drop the lowest were the ones that were the highest last year.
Well, Amy, you said on the yours were on that 3 and 2 level. I'd be curious if you're seeing anything happen. Any theory on that?
Oh, we can't hear you, Amy, for some reason. You're unmuted, but I don't know why. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. I put my thing up. We don't have enough of a sample size yet for me to be able to see a trend with that. So far I'll just confirm what Debbie said. Students who had been NRS level 5 or 6 or even exit NRS previously, they're doing great until they get to summarizing. And if they can't answer the summarizing questions at all, they come out NRS level 4.
It's going to
If
be
they can sort of get one, they might be NRS level 5, but no one has, well, maybe I had one student who did well in that section, but I think the topic is also hard for them. Environmentally friendly transportation. It's just not something they think about ever. A lot of them don't know the word environment.
I was going to say it's a lot of vocabulary. It's a lot of vocabulary too. I
So
think
this
one of the
would
things,
be a heads up moment too, though. Just that would be a heads up moment for our teachers that, just like we were talking, the what about you that we had to learn to teach forever, that we're going to have to learn to teach a little bit to the test on some things.
one of the things that Amy brought up in our group that I thought was very interesting was she feels like there are, and I've been reflecting on it since you said this, Amy, and now I want to do a test so I can really pay attention. She thinks there are fewer, like, easier questions for our lower level students to answer, so they don't get as much chance to demonstrate some of the language they know, and it might be a little bit demoralizing for them because there are so many of the questions that are higher enough that they can't answer. So I'd be interested in hearing other people's feedback on that too. I haven't done nearly as many tests as some of you have done. Kate's got her hand up.
Is this a good time?
Sure.
Okay. Well, and to be clear, I'm not trying to open a can of worms here, but something that we were talking about environmentally friendly transportation, putting it in our curriculum. The current state of the political world and things happening, would we get any trouble for teaching something that is potentially controversial to that. I know it's on the test, but I'd also like us to not get in trouble for what somebody would perceive as indoctrinating our students.
Who's gonna rat you out?
Fair point.
Kim's gonna take the opposite side.
I'm gonna take the opposite side, Kate. I think that that's a very valid question, and it shouldn't be flippantly responded to like that.
I
Because,
wasn't being flippant. I was asking, like, who's gonna rat you out? I mean, do we think that
well,
there's somebody who could, you
you
know?
don't know that somebody isn't going to, especially like record your class and share it out on the web. You don't know that. And especially in an online environment, that would be very easy to do. But somebody could turn their video on or their camera on or something in your classes face to face as well. And that could be shared and misconstrued as something. And inevitably, one little thing you said that you didn't mean it, that gets taken out of context, which does in our environment a lot now. I think that's a very fair question and maybe something we don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole right now. I think it's very fair.
Well, I
Sure.
can offer a thought about that. If you give Form 1 as a pretest and Form 2 as a post-test, then you don't have to teach environmentally friendly because that's only on Form 1. And if, you know, you want them to do well in their post-test. So maybe we don't have to even touch it.
For those who use Burlington English, there is an entire chapter on environment. And there are some community sections as well that go into some of those exact things, and they handle it very well.
So
And
there
that-
they'd at least get some vocabulary. Nothing else. Yeah, good to know.
I was gonna say, we wouldn't necessarily have to teach the concept of environmentally friendly transportation. It would just be vocabulary. You know what I mean? Understanding the vocabulary, understanding the concepts of those terms. And that wouldn't necessarily mean doing an entire lesson on environmentally friendly transportation. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think Debbie's saying the exact same thing in the comments.
Yeah.
Another way.
Well, and here's the other thing I was going to bring up. The question's really asking, you have to summarize each of the sides, but then you also have to take a stand. And so when you're trying to teach people to look at both sides of an argument and take a stand, no matter what you teach, you're going to be looking at two sides of an issue that somebody could be upset about. So the way you do that, I think, is the key. If you're not putting forward, we think one of these is right and one of these is wrong. On the GED side, we've been doing this since the 2014 test came out. And what you're doing is not saying which is right and which is wrong. You're saying which argument is better supported. So that's a way that the GED teachers can look at that and say, what is good evidence? And, you look at that evidence and say, well, I think that I'm going to say that this argument has been made better, not necessarily, so yeah.
Yeah, I try to model that a lot in my reading and social studies class, and we do practice with that a lot when we are preparing for the extended response. Yeah, you look at both sides of the argument and you're not looking for which opinion you agree with. You're looking for which one has the best and the strongest evidence. I think maybe there are just with the English classes, maybe there are little ways that, like Debbie said, we can teach opinion and summarizing, just little ways we can incorporate them into what we already teach without even branching off. And then teaching some of the vocabulary that we know that they're going to need to understand an argument in the first place.
We had some interesting viewpoints in our group and ideas in our group about ways to approach that instruction. And I know one of the things Diana said was she's teaching the lower level students. So she's teaching them just about active listening. So you're getting those building block skills to go forward when you get to those higher levels and you're going to teach. Like, we have to listen to this and then we have to summarize it, is a pretty high level skill. But the lower level students can also work on some listening skills. Tu mentioned, he does the listen to somebody and then repeat what they said with his students, so that you're getting that practice of, like, I'm going to listen and then I'm going to kind of summarize what they said. Those kinds of things, I think, are gonna become important parts of our instruction too.
And then Natalie had mentioned that she actually plays videos and have them
Yeah.
summarized so that they are watching and hearing, which you don't have to do that on the test, but it would help with the listening.
And yeah, Heather made a great point in the chat that many of our students are never going to say they have a different opinion than their teacher. So it's very cultural. And that's another skill we need to teach them, right? Hopefully, in our culture, we can express opinions respectfully and express differences, and still maintain our relationships. So
One thing I do, and I stole this from you, Becky, this is from the STAR training, was from for a vocabulary activity, one of my favorites, yes, no, why. You give the students a question that could be answered yes or no based on their opinion. They choose yes or no, and that doesn't matter. The why is what matters.
Yeah.
We do this all the time in my class in terms of vocabulary. Sometimes it's pretty clear where the students are siding. Sometimes they absolutely have different opinions. And I just sit there with a big fat grin on my face, listening to them talk about it and debate about it. And I don't give my opinion on it unless they ask.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I get that a lot. Students are always asking me for my opinion or my take on something, and most of the time I refuse to give it to them because I want them to have that discussion. I want them to go through that mental labor.
And yeah, Amy's making the point that if we can train that type of skill, active listening and summarizing in lower levels on us, with simpler content, that's going to lead to better language overall for all of us. So yeah, very good, very good. And yeah, summarizing is taught not all that well sometimes in our public schools. We've learned this from STAR. So yeah, if we can find ways to help students understand the process of summarizing, we're ahead. So John left and never came back. I was hoping we'd get him back for the end for our wrap up. I'm going to tell you, I so appreciate all of the discussion and the sharing of ideas and the rich conversation that we've had here today. I think it's been very helpful to me. I hope it's been helpful to you all as well. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that Laura gets a chance to talk about next month's training.
I was going to do my final poll first and then go to that.
Okay.
I actually have a slide. So yeah, I'm gonna just do a reflection poll for us now. So I'm gonna launch this. There's just a couple questions in this one, but you have to type. Sorry.
You're right up on that 4 o'clock hour, Becky.
Yep. I'm going to leave it open and I'm going to invite Laura to share some information about next month's T3.
Yeah, happy to do that. What a great discussion today. Thanks for all the facilitators and for Becky for facilitating too. Our next T3 topic we've offered to facilitate through some presenters here at LSS to share as we are knees, elbows, and ankles deep into student eligibility under the new PROWARA Act, as well as ways to support the student bodies that we serve through classroom instruction. So we'll be sharing some of the resources and approaches that that our team has been using here and some of the pre-work that we've already done, learning things the hard way in gathering student documentation and determining work eligibility.
Perfect. I look forward to that. Not because it's a pleasant topic, but because it's an important topic that I think we all are muddling through at this point. So it'll be great to muddle together. Again, thank you so much. I am not going to share the results of this poll right now live. What I'm going to do is compile it into a document to share with you so that you all get a collection of the great things that you heard and you want to try and some questions you want to keep exploring so that maybe we can have some collaboration to find some answers. So I thank you all again for such a great conversation and wonderful feedback. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday and a good weekend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Becky.